Nicholas. All right,
Yeah.
we're rolling.
I hear somebody out there.
So what are you up to?
This is made of iron, but the customer wants a bronze color, so first goes the black coat, and when that hardens, clear coat
Uh-huh.
acrylic on top. This is all iron, that's bronze, the bird, which will get polished as bronze. This takes 4 hours just to finish. It's imitation. And imitation is bad. You know.
Right.
The old timers, doing ironwork, always said that it was appropriate to leave the marks of the tool's true play.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, don't eliminate all the tool marks,
Mm-hmm.
hammer marks.
Yeah, yeah.
But don't put any on there unnecessarily.
Don't distress it.
Yeah, never peen on a piece of iron needlessly. It's wearing out your arm and the job and the hammer and your ears and the whole thing. It's needless. But there are ways of decorating with a hammer, deliberately. I'll show you. It's called, that's a pattern hammer.
Oh, I see.
I found this engineer's hammer I found laying in the road. Probably a city worker abandoned it for driving stakes. So I put it in the fire and burned the handle out and annealed it and carved these designs in there.
Oh, I see.
And then rehardened it so when I want to decorate something a little bit, I can dance on it with this.
I see.
Each one for a different purpose, the general purpose hammer for hard stuff. But when I find a hammerhead that I like in a junkyard or wherever, I glom it. See how much head that has? That saves on your arm. It's always pointing down, when you swing it. So it makes a good impact.
I see.
So then I put a handle in it. And then each one a different purpose. This one for raising stuff. Different lengths of handles and different weights for different kinds of blows. Some blows are just dead, they just smack and they widen something. But others, form something without deforming it, without flattening it. And somebody asked me one time why I like to pound on iron. I said, because when I hit it, it hits back. Because you're a Serbian, you like to fight. Crazy. This is a sample of what I would make for a big a door pull or something, an ornament at the top and the bottom. But that's a real trick. You won't find anybody in the Northwest knows how to do that. Old stunt done red hot, super hot the whole time. And these are samples of ways of decorating and twisting and forging. Different styles, trickery, different ways of braiding iron. These lamps are for somebody whose name may not be mentioned in public. You'll have to go nameless. All these little parts. 96 of those, 96 of these, 96 of those. So many little parts. In China, a child of 10 would be making these. But here I'm doing it. Trebuchet was a Frenchman that modified the siege weapons, from catapults to trebuchets, so they named them after him. So people are making models of them now. There's 7.5 pounds of iron in there for weight. And the big ones sometimes had thousands of pounds of rocks in there. Okay. In Texas, there's a club. They got one they're going to put a 100-foot beam on, and they're talking about 50,000 pounds of weight in there. And it would throw an automobile a couple of miles, probably. But in the old days, they threw cows, dead cows, animals, dead bodies. If they caught a spy in the castle area from the enemy, they put him in there and fired him back at his company. Yeah, they threw him back. They threw dead bodies, disease, whatever. Rolling down Main Street, right down the middle of the street someday. I thought that big sheet music and shot it down and the colors.
Nobody lied.
I also got to figure out a way to get up on here outdoors one day and hunch over that thing. I want to be sitting on it. Project. Yeah, we're working with soft goods. Iron is more my stuff. Branding iron. Sometimes when I get a client in here that's a little bit overbearing, and we're looking at drawings or want to discuss something in detail,
Mm-hmm.
I'd say, well, I have to put on my glasses, and I put these on. I made these, fabricated the frames, had the lens made, put the angels on. The whole thing. And it usually gets some kind of result. It shortens the
Yeah.
dialogue
Yeah,
significantly when you lay these on them. These are made out of paper clips, and these little castings I used to make out of gold for Christmas presents. And
Let's see now. Let's see if I can get let me get in real tight.
those are my angel glasses. And it works.
I bet.
Yeah, you put these on and you're all business. The table is set. They're always talking about the bowl area. The bowl. I put concertina wire was the last thing I did.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of hard to see, but keep you out away from the people's yachts.
I-O.
Here's the Evader, tax evader. One morning, a view from the window at Brusso's. One morning, you know, I sit there and drink coffee, look out the window and see these women going by. Like they're going to Himalayas.
I recall this. This is the fountain, the Edmonds
Yeah.
Fountain. This was your proposal?
Yeah. I sent them to City Hall and the mayor and made a bunch of copies, gave them away, spread them around. Oh, there's an old colored Tanya with bullet holes. Bullet holes shot in it. I think that's the original. I could see immediately I was not going to do any work for her because I didn't like her attitude. She was too arrogant. She had no respect for tradesmen. And if I'd have worked for her, I would have been lying on the floor and she would have had a high-heeled boot in the middle of my back. So the first job was in what they called the pool room in the basement, where there was a pool table and a big fireplace, and there were 7-foot ivory tusks bracing the fireplace with big gold crowns on them. And they looked like imitations. But anyhow, he had been on an elephant out to Africa. So I came away with that impression, and I thought, okay, you like elephants? Here's an elephant for your fireplace. Here's another elephant for your fireplace. These were proposals. I'm supposed to be looking for work. These are valued billionaire customers. We'll hang the broom on those tusks. So can you imagine what happened when she showed these to him? He said, you know, he probably said, who the hell is this guy? Get him out of my house. I like him. I like the dreamy. Look at the little wisps of hair. Here's got a few hairs on his dome. They almost got all this slack hanging down here, you know? You wonder what all that slack is. Oh, okay, so I did something straight that I would have proposed to him. Had she shown any sensitivity at all, I would have done a fireplace like this with copper and colors and a sunset. You know, I wasn't going to buy any screen. I was going to weave that screen out of steel wire. It was going to be different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Something unique. Just for them. But she's too young to know about that. She's only 32 years old, so she hasn't had her experience has been handing out salted almonds to the flying tourists. You know, she's a stewardess. So how could she know anything? All she knows is puke bag.
How long were you in Alaska, Nick?
About 24 years, off and on.
Oh, and this is a picture of your wife?
Yeah. When she was young, I took this with my old, trusty old view camera. She was so pretty. It still is. It's the Wolverine parka. Wolverine hair doesn't freeze, it doesn't ice up.
How old were you when you started with the cannery?
About 25, somewhere around there.
After the military.
After World War II, yeah. And then So for 24 years, off and on, time out for the Korean War, I was in the canneries. 1 foot in native culture since I was married to a native girl, and 1 foot in Del Monte Corporation, having to make a profit for the corporation. And at the same moment, trying to improve the conditions in the villages and in the canneries, which were pretty bad. You know, they'd been so exploited that they needed everything, including decent bathrooms, toilets. So, and the industry said, we're not going to spend any money on bathrooms. So that's when I got the carpenter come and put plywood on the decks, which had cracks you could put your hand in, and ice cold in there, and no warm water. And the consequence of that was I painted them and had lights put in and so on. And then on the 4th of July, one of the locals, they got booze on the 4th. And I used to try to hide from them. And one of them threatened to shoot me, one of the villagers, because he knew what I was up to. I was after their women. And this was only because I overhauled the women's toilet. So, changes, you know, any modest change, whether it's a little red leatherette pocket radio in Africa, change the lives of a whole village, or improving a toilet in Alaska in a cannery. You know, those things are dramatic. So. Bootmaker. I better, shall I dust it off? They're pretty dusty. She's got her sewing kit in her lap. And so she has her ulu and her needle case and all her stuff there in her lap, and she's sewing on a mukluk boot. She's wearing mukluks. So I call her the bootmaker. This is called moving camp. You know, like in summer when you've only got a tent and bedding and, you know, camp stuff, and you use one dog, and the dog doesn't like having the pack and either, but he is.
Okay, and what's this one called?
Hunting party. They're out looking for polar bears or seals. So since everything is flat out there, why they stand on each other so they can see. And he's got an old pair of French field glasses. And this guy is just coiling up lines and tending to gear. The guy's wearing snow goggles. And this heavy stick is for probing in the ice to make sure it's thick enough to walk on. His old bear track that they've probably been looking at. Polar bear and seal. Just about one more step, and he's going to smack that poor seal in the head. The seal's looking the wrong way. But the bear knows where he is. And when we were hunting them, we start out shooting at them on the rocks. And so you get 1 or 2 shots, and then they all go in the water. And then my brother-in-law would talk to them on the back of his hand, and they tread water and stretch their necks out. So you get another shot at them. But you got to be able to talk seal. Finally, the guy opens the store. By now it's 10:30. So So I go in there, and he's from down here, the storekeeper. So everybody runs in there. The kids grab candy bars, and the natives grab cigarettes and old stale cigars. So I went up to him and I said, what time you come to work? He says, 8 o'clock in the morning. He's been there 25 years, summer, seasonally, see. Comes up in the spring. So I said, what time do you open the doors? Oh, after the mailbag gets here, you know, or whatever, 10:30, 11 o'clock. If the mailbag doesn't get there, do you open? Oh, yeah, I open, you know, around noon. I said, well, I want to tell you something. I said, I'm the new manager here. And I said, if you come to work here at 8 o'clock, goddamn you, I want you to open this door at 8 o'clock. People are sitting out here with ice water running down through their hair, and you're sitting in here by the stove. You know, I really tore into it. And so that's how we started, you know, functioning, the storekeeper and I. But I didn't care. He was a white man and an outsider, and I didn't care if I pissed him off or not. But I made a friend right there with Robert Agic, and that word passes then through the whole village, see. So anyhow, second thing I always have to do when I go to one of the villages, a new place, is find a banya, a sauna, because I gotta have banya. You know, they call it banya, that's a Russian word for bath. And so I asked him one. I said, Robert, you got banya? Oh, yeah. But see, you can't ask to be invited. You just have to wait and play it out. So I'm lying in my house one night reading in bed, all tucked in. It's colder than hell. And I hear an outboard engine out in the bay in the dark. I thought, who the hell is traveling on a night like tonight? You know, wind is hammering against the side of my building, and the waves are coming up under the floor joist. Chuck, chuck, chuck. You know, I don't know if I'm going to get washed away. Anyhow, this outboard comes right up behind my shack, grinds up on the gravel. Somebody's knocking at the door. Open the door, Robert Agic, all in oilskins, all wet. And he says, I came to take you to Banya. So I bundle up and get my towels and all my clothes and a blanket and slicker gear, and away we go across the bay into the pitch black night to go have a sauna. And it was so sweet. It was beautiful. And they always let you go first. You're the guest. It's the hottest. Oh man, it was a hot banya. So then him and his little old lady, they go wash. I go in the house and sit by the stove. And then when they come in, why we had tea, she combs her hair, and we sit there, and then she puts tea and some little tarts. They make tarts, wild berry jam and little tarts. And you know, you just want to melt away. You want to sleep. And in some houses, I did crawl up in the loft and sleep by the chimney. Open the window, snow on the windowsill, and just sleep. Never rest like that, you know, in my shack.
Yeah.
It was marvelous. Those kinds of experiences made up for being threatened, you know, with shooting for dressing up a woman's toilet.
Sure.
So, when you visit them, there's got to be gifts,
Right.
always. You know, I go there empty-handed looking to buy some fish. And she opens a chest and takes out a beautiful pair of handmade gloves that she made for her husband for Christmas, but I have to have them. She gives them to me because I'm a guest,
Yes.
you know. And despite protestations, you have to accept them. You know? So some of these things came the same way. For example, my wife's aunt gave me that. That's a seal oil burning lamp. These things were used for centuries. Sotheby's would pay $1,000 for that.
Really?
And she gave me that, and I used to burn oil in it for guests, you know, when I have company, and turn out all the lights and light this off. You can see all over the room. Pour seal oil in there, and you take dry grass, beach rye, and twist it into a thread, and put it in here for a wick. And then, you know, it sucks up the oil. And has that beautiful, sweet, fishy smell, you know, of steel oil. You get it on your hands, it's just like balm, you know. I love it. This is a little, also an oil lamp, and it's called a trail lamp. And it's so tiny, you would put a little oil in it. If you were traveling, you'd carry this with you, and you'd light it, and you'd put it down, and you'd put your parka down all around it, and maybe even put snow around it, and then sit there and warm yourself. And then this also belonged to an old timer. This is made from a whale's vertebra.
Oh.
This is the epiphyses, you know, of a whale. And when they got into tobacco in the early days, they brought up a tobacco called, it was black. It was a twist, Black Bull, a big twist of tobacco. They chopped it up with a knife, dropped it in here, and they would sit on a bench and hold this, and they had a big piece of driftwood here, and they spun that and they ground that tobacco. And then they put wood ashes in it, alder ashes, and moistened it with tea, and they ground it into snuff.
Huh.
Then, when they got their snuff made, they had to have something to carry it in. So they made snuff boxes. And this one was made of walrus ivory. And stained from the snuff, and the little cedar plugs. There's a mark. Perfect little plug. That was a gift. So some of the things I treasure most are things that I dug up myself, you know, in the ruins, but the other things I treasure more are these things that those people gave me.
Mm-hmm.
And the things I treasure most of all are the things they taught me, because if you've ever been a greenhorn in a different culture, you cannot know how bad it can be. The massive embarrassment, monumental, that you never forget. I had a card printed of this, and for mailing, and the printer characterized this as old man and contraption. So I guess that's what it is. It's an old man and a contraption. Shall we wheel it out then?
Oh yeah, let's take it outside.